all of you. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your weekend to come here and sit here and listen to me run my mouth a little bit about this challenge that I believe is going to be incredibly beneficial for all of you here. How many of you guys have done the challenge before? By a show of hands. Okay, that's pretty good. I probably should ask who has not done the challenge. Show of hands. Fantastic. Okay, the point of this meeting is really to help set you up for a win during this experience. I want you to have a deeper understanding of why we put this program together and how it's actually going to benefit you, okay? Really quick, somebody that's done the challenge before, would you share with those who have not one of the benefits that you learned from this challenge? Give me a brave soul. Go, Tremaine. This is our last winner here. He won the last one, won himself $1,000, so he's here again to try to take everybody's money. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things I find during the challenge is you learn to eliminate excuses. It's easy to say that, oh, I can't eat that much, or I can't get up that early, or I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, you have 6 weeks, and you have just a smidge of competitiveness in you. It's like, well, I know they're up.
Yep.
Let me get up. Because so-and-so's going to be there, and they're going to be working. And it's a healthy competition. I want to see you succeed. So get your butt up, bring your butt to the gym. Did you eat? Did you get your water in? Did you get your steps? Did you read? Why you didn't? Why not?
Yep.
It's like that accountability is there, and it's like if you're doing it by yourself, it's hard to be accountable to yourself because it's easy to make excuses to yourself.
Yep. One of the things I talk about is pain shared is pain divided. So going through this with other people makes it a lot easier. And I think the biggest thing I heard out of what Tremaine said was that accountability matters, okay? How many of you have tried to do a transformation program online, kind of by yourself, not in a community like this? Anybody try that before? Yeah, it's rather difficult, right? So, but having a group of people that you go through this program with is incredibly powerful. So, I'm not going to talk too much. Let's get into this today. My goal is to get you out of here within an hour. Just don't be mad at me if I mess that up. I like to talk about this stuff. So, first of all, itinerary for today, we're going to go over the 42 Strong principles and rules. We're going to go over the program itself, which the components to make up this program are mindset, training, nutrition, accountability, recovery, and education. All right? But before I do that, I would like to give you guys a little demo. I felt like this hammered home the point last time I did this, so I'm going to do it again today. Weight loss and fat loss is a slow process, despite what all the very persuasive marketers in the world will tell you. Because the way you're sold weight loss and fat loss is in short windows, like a 6-week challenge, okay, like we're doing today. But if I told all of you we were going to do a 52-week challenge, how many of you would be here today? You would? I like you. We need to get her signed up immediately. Yeah. So it's few and far between, though. Most people, if it's 52 weeks, like, man, I don't know if I got it in me to do it that long. So when you have expectations that are not matched up with the reality of the outcome you want, it can create a lot of internal frustration. And then we often stop things that we're frustrated with. So what I want you to think about really quick is that every drop that I put in here represents a perfect day of eating, training, and sleeping. All right? So as you can see, after about a week, not a whole lot of results. And people, after a week of doing things well, they look in the mirror and they expect all the body fat that they had gained over the past 30 years to be gone in a week because they were so good, okay? Then they do it again for 2 weeks. You ever had that experience where you're like, I think I see something? Like at about 2 weeks is where it starts to happen, okay? Now, 3 weeks, generally, you see some real visible change. Okay, and if you've been consistent, you'll see more visible change. But this is the point where people have decisions to make. If the results are not good enough, if it wasn't aligned with their expectations, a lot of times this is what happens. They stop, and then they start all the way over. But if they could just continue stacking perfect days on top of perfect days, eventually the results become very obvious. if I were to simplify the number one problem that people have when it comes to changing their body composition long term, is they look at it as a short-term effort. It will take a long-term effort to change your body composition and keep it that way. Anybody impressed with that? I thought it makes sense. Thank you. I don't need that. I don't need that. But this is another demo that I wanted to share with you guys that I think hammers home, one, the importance of this challenge and how easy it is to get distracted. Any of you guys that haven't watched this here know about this selective attention test? Okay. We have edited it to identify the things that people often get distracted by. So I want you to read the words that come up, and I want you to follow the directions. Don't say anything at all. Don't say anything.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count?
Oh, done messed it up now. How many passes did you count?
13.
Count how many times the players wearing
I'm giving you
white
2
pass
shots
the
now.
basketball.
Don't say anything. You'll have to show me how to stop that next time without going to another slide. Keep counting.
How many passes did you count?
16.
The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
Raise your hand if you did not see the gorilla. Literally walks right through the middle. Most people don't, because your attention is on all those other things. And if you saw, we put up, it was like keto, fasting, carnivore, yoga, ice baths. Like there's so much noise out there now that you can get really distracted. The gorilla is that there's only about 5 things that you should be focused on. And it's literally what this challenge is based on. 5 simple things that if you focus on it, you will get results if you can stay consistent. But you will have to work very hard not to be distracted. Social media in general is a very noisy place, okay? We are bombarded with messages about anything people can sell you. And the fitness world is fantastic at this. So if any of those things you've been interested in, just stop for the next 6 weeks. Just stop. I want you to just focus on the things we're going to share with you. First, we're going to talk about the principles of this program, all right? Pay to play. There are 2 ways that you pay when you join something like this. You pay with your time or you pay with money. Some of you have to pay with both, okay? The reason that's important is because now you have skin in the game. How many of you have done something that was free before that you didn't complete? Most people, okay? You have to pay, often with money, but you will absolutely have to pay with your time in order to successfully complete this challenge, okay? The second principle is fast track the results. Habit development versus just tell me what to do. Here's the deal. All the science and research says that if I give you 3 things to do, let's say drink 90 ounces of water a day, walk 10,000 steps a day, and work out a couple days out of the week. All the behavior change research says after about 21 days, you have a 9% chance of keeping that up. 9%. If I just give you 2 things to focus on, that goes up to a whopping 36%. If I give you one thing and one thing only to focus on, your chance of success goes up to 89%. So there's a lot of merit of just focusing on one thing at a time. But if we did that, and like I said, I created a 52-week challenge in order to get you those results because we're focusing on one specific thing at a time, how many of you would actually be here? Yeah, I like you. I like you. You would have been here. But, so what we decided to do is, we're going to get buy-in up front. We're going to tell you exactly what to do. And there'll be 5 things you have to do. According to the behavior change research, that's really hard to do. But we've got evidence in this room that it can be done. There are a lot of people in here that have done this. So results lead to buy-in. If I can get you results in 6 weeks, I know then any other change that I ask you to make, I'll have a little bit more leverage in. The next is access, association, and accountability. You need access to expert advice relative to your specific situation. You need association with other like-minded people on the same path and journey. And you need accountability, like Tremaine said. You need somebody to hold your feet to the fire. And we have got multiple strategies of how we do this in a very kind and nice way. Any of you in here not good with being held accountable? My man, I appreciate the honesty because it is something that a lot of people struggle with. So I just want you to know that we want to hold you accountable. But if at any point in time we rub you wrong doing that, please let us know. We don't want to make you feel any kind of way, but we know that it is important to hold people accountable to the decisions that they make. The next is ask for help when you need it. You have to ask for help, and you're going to see this over and over and over in my slides. If you don't ask for help and get the information you need, that's only hurting you. There are no dumb questions. And then last is focus on the process, which are the rules of this challenge, not the outcome that you desire. When you are outcome focused, your self-limiting beliefs can get in the way. How many of you have tried to lose, say, 20 pounds more than once in your life? You can keep your hand up or put it back up. How many of you have failed doing that? Right? So there's evidence in your mind that says, I can't do that. Now that's not true, but there's evidence in your mind that says you can't do it. So if you focus on losing 20 pounds instead of the process that will actually get you there, you can get in your own way and fall off the plan. But if you just focus on the daily behaviors that will get you to lose 20 pounds and you measure and quantify those, you have a much better chance of success. And that's literally what this whole challenge is really built around. Measuring the specific behaviors that will allow you to transform your body. So these are the principles. These are the things that you will have to do every single day. Number 1, train and sweat daily. We recommend 4 to 6 workouts a week here. And on the days that you're not here, you do home workouts that we will provide you with. They're very short, they're very easy, but it builds in the habit of you sweating every day. Fitness not being something I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Fitness is a part of my life every day because it's that important. We're going to ask you to walk 10 to 30 minutes a day, technically to hit 10,000 steps a day. That's the metric that we want you to hit, okay? It's going to take probably multiple 10-minute walks a day or a 30-minute walk if you don't have a very active lifestyle. Those of you that are really active, you might be able to go on a 10-minute walk at the end of your day and hit 10,000 steps. Those of you that spend like your entire day in a cubicle in front of a computer, not so much. You're going to have to move a lot more. Number 3 is follow the nutrition plan. I am so proud of this nutrition plan that Maddie has put together. I think it's one of the best resources available. We have multiple variations of meals, and we have made it seamless for you to actually meal prep. You select the breakfast, you click the food, it opens up a window to the grocery store, you take it, you put it in your cart, you buy it, and you go pick it up. Minimizing friction in the meal planning process is huge. How many of you guys have started meal planning and prepping in the past and just kind of gave up over time? Most people, right? You guys are just getting tired of raising your hands because I know more of you have had that experience. Okay? So We're making that seamless and easy, and it's a fantastic manual. All right. Next is drink 90 to 120 ounces of water a day. How many of you guys do that now? Okay, I was going to say, if you don't, this will be one of the more challenging things you actually have to do because it's not top of mind. Okay? And then read 5 to 10 pages a day of the book that I did not take out. I did not edit that slide. This is we read Do Hard Things in the last challenge. So one of the big things that we do is we have you read about principles and theories that coincide with this challenge, like doing hard things. The book that we're going to be reading this time is called The Obstacle is the Way. The Obstacle is the Way is one of my favorite books, written by one of my favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, and all of you will get a digital copy of this in the private Facebook group. And I'll talk about why that's important more later on. So let's start talking about the components of the program. First of all, mindset. How many of you guys know about growth mindset? Many of you in the room should be familiar, okay? Any of you guys ever read the book by Carol Dweck called Mindset, where she kind of goes deep into these concepts? Good man. Any of you want to share your understanding of a growth mindset and the opposite, a fixed mindset? Would anybody be willing to do that? Go for it.
A growth mindset is when maybe you try something, you fail, and then you find a way, you keep trying. You can do this, keep trying. A fixed mindset is, well, I'm just where I'm supposed to be right now.
That's a great way to simplify it. Growth mindset is believing that anything that you want to do, anything that you need to change, which I bucket into 3 categories, beliefs, traits, and skills, you have the ability to do. Examples of a fixed mindset would be, man, I can't make workouts because I'm not a morning person. I can't follow the meal plan because I have a sweet tooth. I've talked about this a lot. I promise you, none of you in here actually have a sweet tooth. I promise. It doesn't exist. And I promise if you don't believe you're a morning person, it's only because you've reinforced that so much that it's actually become a belief. Because I know many people that have learned to work out very early in the morning who used to tell me that. But if you believe that, it will hold you back. So having a growth mindset is really important. Again, next, number 2 is ask for help. Part of having a strong mindset that allows you to create sustainable and lasting change is being able to get the help you need. If you don't understand something, you have to have the courage and strength to say, hey, I don't get it. I need help. There is no weakness in that. That is the ultimate demonstration of power. Depending on how you were raised, it probably determines this, okay? So a lot of us were not raised in a way to where it's like, hey, I need help, and we were treated kindly. So if you find yourself struggling with this, just understand this is the group of the most kindest coaches you will meet, despite all the tattoos and stuff. We're really nice guys and gal. Next is never quit. I wanted to put an asterisk next to it. I don't want you to quit on these 5 things, but there are probably a handful of things in your life that I do want you to quit on. I want you to quit the things that are not congruent with creating the change that you want in your life. And number 5 is implementation decisions, and I'm going to go into these a little bit more. So like I talked about, Carol Dweck wrote this book, and I want you to understand that your beliefs will shape your results. The stories you have about the time you have available, how good you are at cooking, how capable you are of finding time to walk, they will help you or they will hurt you. So be very careful with the stories you tell yourself because they shape your beliefs. You must believe that you can acquire the skills of grocery shopping, meal planning, reading, and training. You have to believe that you can do this or you will come up with reasons why you cannot. You will not be great at anything when you first start. That's how skill sets work. If you have no experience, you're not going to be very good at it. But the more you do it over time, you can become competent. Once you're competent, then you can really expand that. One of the things I tell my daughter who's sitting out there all the time, when you can't do something or you're struggling with something, it's try and try more. Try and try more. Anytime you come up against a stumbling block in this challenge, don't reinforce the story of why it's so challenging. Try and try some more. If you fall off, you will be faced with a decision. What type of person are you? And this is what I mean by traits. Are you the type of person that when you get thrown off or something comes up in life, You throw the towel in? Or are you the type of person that when something happens, you're kind to yourself, you recognize you're a human, you didn't do this intentionally, maybe you had no control over it, but you know that you have an opportunity to get right back on track the next day. The very next day. It doesn't have to be on Monday. How many of you guys have had that experience? Oh, I'll start on Monday. It doesn't have to be Monday. It can be the very next day. Ask for help. There are no dumb questions. If you're struggling in any way, you can reach out to one of our coaches. You can reach out to me directly or make a post in the Facebook group. I love that saying, pain shared is pain divided. So by you having the courage to ask a question in the Facebook group, it might help somebody else that doesn't have that courage, okay? So make sure that you're asking for help. Finish strong, okay? The first 3 weeks, most people are incredibly excited about this program. They're rocking and rolling. But, kind of based on this demo that I showed you, that can also be the point where people throw in the towel. They start deciding before they've finished that they've done good enough, or they start creating a belief that it doesn't matter anyway, I'm not going to get the results that I deserve. The last 3 weeks are the most important 3 weeks. The last 3 weeks are the most important. And I want you to train yourself to finish and honor your commitment. When I asked you how many of you have tried to lose weight and not before, a lot of hands went up, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some grace there that I know you probably ran into some bad information and maybe you weren't set up the right way to do this. There are things that give people a better chance of success. But every time that you start a diet and stop, join a gym and stop, you start to chip away at your own self-esteem and self-trust. You start to believe that you can't do it because you're training yourself and giving yourself evidence that you can't. If you recognize that pattern in your life, this is an incredible opportunity to get that under control. Because if you conquer this program in 6 weeks, it will drastically improve your self-trust. It will drastically change your beliefs. Do not quit. One thing that I want you to think about as a real strategy, on the day that you don't want to meal prep and eat the meal plan, or on the day that you don't want to come to a workout, I want you to do it anyway, but just for one more day. I want you to tell yourself, I only have to do it one more time. That's it. I just have to show up one more. I'll go tomorrow and then I'll quit. But never on the same day that you have the feeling. Implementation decisions are one of the most powerful things that you can utilize to make sure that your behavior is in alignment with the results that you want and deserve. An implementation decision is making a decision on how you're going to handle a thing before you actually have to do it. So this is a series of questions that I think are really valuable for people. It's like, what do you think the biggest obstacle be when it comes to training daily? Well, what are you going to do about it? Like right now, you all probably have a pretty good handle on the things that get in your way when it comes to eating the way you want, sleeping the way you want, and training the way you want. So I would sit down and intellectualize with this process the 5 things that we're going to do and ask yourself, what is going to be my biggest obstacle? And then what am I going to do to solve that? Those of you that have to travel for work during this challenge, it's better to figure out how you're going to handle that now than when you get off your airplane in that city. If you know you're going to have birthday parties and dinners to go to, it's better to make a decision now on how you're going to handle that. Now, I want to be clear about this. We encourage you to be perfect, okay? But I also know that's not that realistic. You may want to share a drink with a friend or somebody at their birthday party. You may not. You may choose not to. But if you choose to do it, I don't think you're a bad person at all. But I want you to think about this. I want you to make decisions ahead of time on how you're going to do this instead of getting caught up in the moment and be like, yeah, let me get that drink. And then you didn't get a point that day for your nutrition. All right, talk about training. I could get nerdy on this, so I'm going to do my best not to give you guys the nerdy details, all right? But this is a combination of your workouts, all right? You will have Unlimited Metabolic Blast, which is our large group fitness program. It's designed to be a 3 to 4 day a week program by itself. Our hybrid strength training is our small group personal training. So this is like one-on-one personal training, but without the cost. Okay, so you get all the same benefits. When you're on our hybrid program, we give you 2 days a week of Metabolic Blast for free. So it allows you to train here 4 days a week. And that's one of the things I'm big on, is training more days than not. Your at-home workouts will be primarily extensions of our ramp, which is our daily warm-up, with a couple other things that Coach Tate puts in there. I think you'll really dig these. And then the daily walks are walking. Metabolic Blast has 3 primary formats, and there's a 4th that we do on Saturday. You have density, circuit, hurricane, and chains. Density is defined as the amount of work volume we can fit into a certain amount of time. The way we periodize, which means planned progression, the way we build our programs here, week by week, the density of your program is going to increase. That's important because progressive overload is one of the fundamental things that you need in place to actually change your body. That's built into what we do. Our circuits are probably familiar with those of you that haven't been here to like what you might see at like a boot camp style workout. We use devices, we use ropes, we use body weight training, and it's a great way to get your heart rate up. Everything is periodized, meaning that it changes over the course of a couple weeks. And right now, it's every week for 6 weeks, the intensity goes up. So week 1 is not designed to smash you for good reason. It's to develop your capacity, then increase your capacity, increase your capacity, increase it. Hurricanes are kind of a combination of both like fat loss activity and strength training. And chains are basically a long, giant circuit, usually done at lower intensity, designed to help facilitate recovery. Believe it or not, low intensity workouts help you recover from higher intensity workouts. We use linear periodization, which is what I just described. So we have a baseline week, and then each week it intensifies. The density is built in because we expand the time. So for example, we might give you squats and push-ups. Week 1, it's 4 minutes. You go back and forth, resting whenever you want. The next week, we're going to add 5 minutes. The next week, 6 minutes. So you see that as the time expands, you will expand your workload as well. Now on the circuit side, this is more time-based. We start out 1-to-1 work-to-rest ratios, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. The next week, we start adding work and taking away rest. And we continue to do this for 6 weeks. So that program spans from very aerobic-based to what's called lactic or glycolytic. MetBlast can be done on its own, but I strongly believe you get the most out of it when you combine it with your hybrid sessions, because the only limitations really in that program are specificity, things you might need a little bit more work on, and then loading. Now, we've got pretty significant loads in that program. What's that heaviest kettlebell, 150 pounds? So, I mean, we've got kettlebells up to 150 pounds, but some of you, many of you in here, are much stronger than that, and when you're in hybrid sessions, we can go significantly heavier. Hybrid sessions, like I said, are pretty much all the benefits of one-on-one training without the cost. It's individualized and planned out for you with regressions and progressions built into it that your coach will take you through, and it's delivered through an app actually called Train Heroic. Home workouts are to be done on the days that you don't train at BCI. They are primarily mobility and body weight based, like I said, an extension of our warm-up, and we're trying to create the habit of sweating every single day. Tate will be posting those at the beginning of each week. Monday mornings is when that goes up. So you can always reference that post if you can't make a workout for some reason, or you plan to use it on a Sunday, like the only day that we're really not open. Walk, 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 walk. It's kind of crazy that walking is exercise these days, but it is, because modern society has removed our movement. We spend a lot of time seated. There's 2 ways to create a calorie deficit. Take as much food from you and make you suffer, or take a little bit of food from you and increase your activity level. By increasing your activity level, we drive you into a caloric deficit without having to take food. I prefer that method. How many of you guys know walking 10,000 steps a day is a really good idea? Okay. What might surprise you is that number is just kind of random and arbitrary. All the research was done actually at 7,500 steps. but we like overachievers, so we're going to make you do 10,000. But I want you to know that if you actually walk 7,500 to 10,000 steps a day, it has a massive impact on all-cause mortality. I'm forgetting the exact percentage, but I shared a graphic in our private Facebook group recently about this. Walking and hitting 10,000 steps a day can quite literally extend your life. Okay. Walking improves your ability to recover from the tougher training sessions, and it also improves blood sugar and insulin sensitivity. Anybody in here struggle with blood sugar or insulin sensitivity? Okay, good deal. One of the things that you can do to kind of mitigate that blood sugar swing is that every time after you eat, you simply go walk. Okay, so you can do multiple 10-minute walks after workouts. All right, let's get into the nutrition a little bit. There's one keystone habit that we focus on, and it's drinking 90 to 120 ounces of water a day. That is a master habit. If you aren't hydrated, you are not going to have good energy. That's just how the human body works, okay? Drinking water also keeps you full. So when you're in a caloric deficit, drinking more water helps kind of stave off the hunger pains. There are 2 meal plans in there. There's a 2,000 calorie meal plan and a 1,500 calorie meal plan. Ideally, we want women to do 1,500. We want men to do the 2,000. If you have questions about this, your coach can help you make a decision. It's okay if some of you want to do the 1,500. It's okay if some of you want to do the 2,000. But I do want you to have a conversation either with me or with your coach. Now, that conversation won't change a whole lot initially, other than us selecting which one. But after about week, I say 3, we may allow you to make some adjustments. So, for example, if you're on the 2,000 and you're only losing 0.5 pounds per week, at that point, we may let you finish the challenge at the 1,500 calorie one. That way it drives a little bit of a deeper deficit. This might be a large caloric deficit for some of you anyway. A lot of people eat way more calories than they actually know that they eat. Even people that weigh, measure, and track, if they don't have a lot of experience doing that, they end up taking in a lot more food than they're aware of. So this could be an aggressive calorie deficit. How many of you guys have actually dieted within the past, say, 2 months? Okay, good. Are you just finishing a diet or coming off one, or?
5 months in.
5 months in.
Into a
Okay.
nutrition plan, yeah.
We'll definitely want you to talk to somebody about where you're at, like what your calorie zone has been, because that's a great example. If she's been working with somebody for 5 months, we want to make some better decisions about what the calorie zone is. And most of the meals are lowish fat, high protein, and moderate carb. It's set up to be 4 meals a day, and Maddie has given you 3 variations of each meal. Okay, everybody thinks that they need more variety than they do, but we have heard you, so we are continuing to provide variety. I want to go through this as well because I think this is really important for you to understand. The most successful people that change their body composition through nutrition do these 7 things, okay? And when I say change it, I mean keep that change. It's a sustainable change. Number 1 is energy balance. Here's the deal. If you don't burn more calories than you consume, you don't lose body fat. That's just how it works. Now, there's some rabbit holes that we could dive into that are beyond the scope of this here. But if you're eating on a nutrition plan and you're not losing 0.5 to 1 pound a week, you're simply not in a calorie deficit. That's okay, though. That means we know exactly what to do. We just have to pull out more calories or increase activity. People that are very successful on diets have staple meals. They eat almost the same thing all the time. They provide a little bit of variety, but they eat almost the same things all the time. I do not know a person who is lean, strong, and really fit who doesn't do that. They all eat almost the same thing for breakfast, same thing for lunch, and the same thing for dinner. And if your mind is like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, that's one of those fixed beliefs that I would have you consider that through this challenge, we can completely change, okay? Consistent feeding windows. How many of you, sometimes you eat breakfast, sometimes you don't, sometimes you work through lunch, sometimes you don't, sometimes you eat dinner early, sometimes you eat dinner late? Any of you experience that? I'm about to say, I better see some hands on that one because I know people struggle with that one. So people that are successful on diets, they have consistent feeding windows. They eat 8, 11, 2, 5, or some example like that, okay? And I'm going to encourage you to do that. Maybe even going as far as putting it into the calendar in your phone and setting a 1-hour reminder or a 30-minute reminder. That way you've got a placeholder for your brain to go, okay, I got to start making sure I'm ready to do this. Protein first focus. How many of you, when you're hungry, go looking for a chicken breast? I like you. Yeah, all of us on staff. But most people, when they look for food, they immediately go for the carbs. They immediately go for it, okay? And carbs are not bad. That's a whole other discussion we can have. Carbs are not the devil, no matter what people tell you. But when you start off with protein, you're doing a lot of good for yourself. Number one, protein is the most satiating macronutrient. So by focusing on protein, you will have better control of your hunger. By focusing on protein, you will keep your muscle tissue. That is so important. I'll probably reshare the video I did in the last challenge where I told people how to lose as much weight as possible, as fast as possible. I won't give you all the details on that, but ultimately what happens when you take that approach is you usually end up losing a lot of muscle, so you're smaller and you weigh less, but you look in the mirror and you still don't like the way you feel. A big part of that is not eating adequate protein and not prioritizing weightlifting. People that are successful usually make meals that have less than 5 ingredients. The next 6 weeks is not the time to become Gordon Ramsay, okay? Like, let's stick with the basics here. Kind of another add-on to that is people that are successful, they eat single ingredient foods, right? So eggs, blueberries, it's a great combo. Or even eggs, oatmeal, it's a great combo. Look at all the things that you get in a bag or a box. How many of them have one ingredient? Very few. They eat most of their meals at home. How many of you guys eat out a lot? The economy might be making that harder on people. I feel like last time we did this, everybody's hand was up. But eating out is getting pretty brutal for those of you that eat out. This is a big one. If you eat out a lot, you have absolutely no idea how many calories you're taking in. Even if they put it on the menu, do you really trust them? That at every restaurant they put the exact same amount of food there? Don't trust them. And again, I'm not saying you can't eat out. I love eating out, and I've got good strategies for that too. Maddie just did a 75-page ebook on how to eat out and stay lean. Okay, but over the next 6 weeks, we're going to eat at home, unless you make a decision not to. Acceptance of suffering. There is no biological, physiological free lunch. It doesn't work. You got to pay, okay? You got to pay. And I mean through your efforts. Dealing with the obstacles in front of you and creating strategies to get over them. That creates a little internal suffering. A lot of us want to play life on easy mode. We just want it to be easy and smooth. That's just not the reality of how things work. That's not the reality. Like, many times I talk about this, the frame of the parent. The way we treat ourselves is often not the way we would ever advise our children on how to do things. If things got really hard and you were missing workouts and not staying on the meal plan, like let's say that was your kid and they came to you and said, I just can't wake up on time. I'm struggling like eating these meals. Would you just be like, don't worry about it, sleep in, do what you want to do? You probably wouldn't. You would give them some tough love. But that's hard to do for yourself. Still worth it. Still worth it. Really quick, I want to check this. It said 10% battery. Guys, this isn't working. I'm going to need somebody's help. This isn't the extension cord that we used before. It wasn't, don't say it wasn't plugged in. Sorry, guys. All right, I'll keep going. Hopefully he'll help me figure this out here in a second. So staying on the concept of nutrition, we're going to start with the rules and guidelines. All right, so first of all, you have to follow the meal plan exactly as designed to get credit. You have to eat what we tell you to eat to get a point for your nutrition. How many of you actually like being told what to do? All right, I like you. Most of us do not. There are some people, it's like, yo, just tell me what to do. But there are a lot of people, when you remove their autonomy and it's like, no, you got to eat this. Their inner rebellious child comes out and is like, no, I don't. I don't got to do that. I'm telling you, though, it makes life harder. We've been doing this a really long time. We got a whole lot of evidence that this works really well. Just follow the meal plan. And you can ask anybody that's done this challenge, the meals are good. It's not like we're having you eat rice cakes and broccoli for breakfast, okay? There's legit good tasting meals in here. Use the manual to make shopping easy and painless, like I mentioned before. Literally everything's hyperlinked. You click a button, it takes you to the grocery store, put it in your cart, go pick it up. If you plan to eat out, plan it. Plan it. Make an implementation decision ahead of time. You will not get a point that day for your nutrition, but that's okay. That's the reality of life. You make decisions, and we have to match that up against the consequences. I would suggest posting it in the Facebook group. That way myself and other coaches can give you feedback to help you make the most optimal decision during this time, okay? How many of you guys have weighed yourself often when you're on a diet and then you went out to eat, like a real go out to eat, and then you woke up the next Monday morning and weighed yourself? How awesome of an experience is that? Yeah. You can literally gain 4 to 7 pounds in a weekend, okay? And then it often takes about, now to be clear, you did not gain fat. That's water, inflammation, that's just how the body works. But it'll take about a week for that to subside and get back to normal, all right? So I highly encourage you to be strategic with that. No alcohol. How many feelings did I hurt? Listen, I struggle with this. Okay, I used to drink a lot. Now I barely ever drink. I almost never have a drink. There has to be a real purpose behind it. You know, I'm sharing something with friends or my wife, or we're celebrating something. I've just got to a point where I realize that this always goes with that. We say, I just like to have a drink at dinner, but really we're doing it to change the way we feel. It's social lubricant, right? It makes you feel better, can lower stress. We've been taught that it's a good way to take the edge off after a long day. And when you start doing those behaviors over and over, this is what happens. Hebb's Law. What gets fired together gets wired together. So you have a great experience with your girlfriends or your guy friends playing golf, or girlfriends going out to dinner, and you drink margaritas, smashing beers on the golf course, and you're having fun. Your brain knows that. I had fun, and it leaves an imprint on your brain. So every time you want to go play golf or go out to dinner with your friends, guess what happens? We smash beers and margaritas. And again, I'm not telling you that's bad. It's very contextual, okay? Depends on a lot of things. But I will tell you this. It's really hard to defend the use of alcohol for any productive and good reason. I am going to challenge you all to not drink for 6 weeks. We have had multiple people do that here that thought they had no chance of doing it. And at the end of 6 weeks, they were like, that was probably the most important thing that I did. It was incredibly empowering. And you will be amazed, probably, at how many calories you drink on top of what you eat. And it makes a massive difference. All right, recovery. This is the boring stuff nobody really cares about. They just want to work. They don't want to worry about recovery. But I'll make this fast. First of all, set a daily bedtime. You raised your kids. You were probably raised, you go to bed at this time. And then we become adults, and we don't want to do that. Sure as heck don't want some schmuck like me standing up here telling you what time to go to bed. Again, that triggers that, like, you're taking my autonomy, thing away from me. But that is one of the best ways to improve the quality of your sleep. It's lights out by 9:30 at my house, preferably by 9. Lights out for my kid at 8:30. That's how we do it, and we back into that, meaning we plan our day around that. That way it's consistent. Stick to it 7 days a week. All of us had the experience of, you better go to bed at this time during the weekday, but on the weekend, we get to party, stay up a little later. That still stays ingrained into us, okay? Keep your bedtime the same bedtime. Keep your wake-up time the same time. I wake up the same time every day. I don't need to sleep in, okay? And nobody really needs to sleep in if you have good sleep. It's the mentality of, like, I'm catching up from what I missed during the week. But if we prioritize sleep during the week, there's no reason to sleep in on the weekend. 7 to 8 hours of sleep is like the money zone. That's where you want to be, with an understanding that most people are going to have at least 1 hour of awake time throughout their night, depending on how many times you wake up. Me and Tate will probably do this sleep podcast during this challenge. I think it'll be really valuable to do that. So we'll shoot that for you guys. I've had 2 good meetings with people recently about sleep, and I think it might be the most important thing. Better sleep equals better recovery. Better sleep leads to more energy, craving management, and overall levels of happiness. I want to pause for a second on the craving thing. Have any of you recognized that when, like, you haven't had good sleep, you're more likely to go for, like, candy and sugar and things like that? Good man. It's a very normal thing because our brains are looking for energy and glucose, and sweet things are fantastic at that. So they've done a lot of research on this. When people have optimal sleep, they snack less, they don't do mindless eating, right? And as a whole, they stay away from sweets and ice cream and the things that can kind of get you in trouble if they become a regular part of your life. Okay, this is where I shamelessly try to sell you on supplements that will make things better for you through this experience. Number 1 is protein and element. Protein is absolutely essential. It's hard for most people to get in their protein needs unless they're using a supplement. Element is also essential in my mind. It is just electrolytes for those of you that don't know, but it's like Gatorade without the garbage. So it doesn't have any sugar and high fructose corn syrup and all that. It's just sodium, potassium, magnesium. That's level 1. And these things are discounted compared to how we normally sell them. So we're giving you all a discount this go around, just like last. Level 2 would be protein, element, and creatine. My mom and dad are 75. They both take creatine every day. There's an idea that creatine is just for people that want to get buff. It helps with that. It helps with endurance and energy. But one of the more powerful things that it helps with is it's neuroprotective. It prevents neurodegeneration. They are realizing that creatine can keep people from having things like Alzheimer's and any type of neurological disorder. Anybody that's ever had a lot of head trauma, concussions, creatine is great to help with that, along with glutamine in that context. And then level 3 is protein, element, creatine, and essential amino acids. I'm just going to say this too. If any of you buy branch chain amino acids, you should stop. It just becomes expensive urine. As long as your protein numbers are in the right zone, you don't need BCAAs at all. Now, essential amino acids are a little bit different. They've got some merit. And for those of you that train at 5 a.m. in the morning, it makes a lot of sense because you're probably not going to wake up at 4 to eat a meal. Or you may be waking up at 4, but you don't have time to eat a meal and get here. But you could sip on some EAAs on the way in and during your workout. That way your body's getting the amino acids it needs to repair the damaged tissue as you're training. This is what we call kind of our health pack. We have a basic methylated multivitamin. This is a little bit nerdy and a rabbit hole, but any of you guys heard of the MTHFR gene? All right, you know about it, you know about it. So the MTHFR has to do with if you have this specific gene, which 40% of people do, it affects your ability to methylate. The best way I've explained this is, when you get oil out of a refinery, you can't just go put it in your car. It has to go through a process to become gasoline to then put it in your car. Well, your body has a very similar process when it comes to processing nutrients. So if you don't methylate well, you need vitamins that are already methylated so you can actually absorb them. So if you've never had the MTHFR gene test, which you can get it done for a couple $100, I recommend taking methylated vitamins because of the amount of people that have this gene. The second most important thing I would say is fish oil for most people. Super EPA has over the 2-gram mark of EPA that has been shown to be really impactful in lowering inflammation. And then the third is vitamin D. And I'll be honest, we might ought to switch that as I'm talking about this, because how many of you guys understand the importance of vitamin D? I mean, it's like a hormone in your body. It is one of the most important things to have. And I'll just tell you, even with supplementation, it's really hard to get your vitamin D levels to optimal levels. What helps, and what's helped me more, and I've got the data to show you, is walking shirtless in the parking lot from spring to summer. So by you doing 10-minute walks every day with as little clothes as possible, I don't want to get none of y'all in trouble, so, you do what you got to do. I don't want you shocking your neighbors here, but, just wearing a tank top, wearing a short sleeve shirt, getting sun on your skin does more for raising vitamin D than supplementation. All right, done with that part. When we get done, though, Maddie, you are handling supplements. Maddie's got all the supplement orders over there. So those of you that want supplements, you head to her, put in your order, we'll get it shipped for you. Accountability. So here's how we're going to hold you accountable. Every night at 7 p.m., you're going to get a text message from our system. It's going to ask you, did you work out? Did you follow the meal plan? Did you get your steps in? Did you drink your water? And did you read? And you answer yes or no. We are tracking this data all 6 weeks, and you'll see in a little bit why that's so important. You're being put into coaching groups. You will have a coach that is your main contact. While you can reach out to all of us, you have one coach that is specifically there for you. The Facebook group is another area of accountability because we want you to contribute. By contributing in this and asking questions, it helps keep you in the game. And the more in the game you are, the better results you're going to get. I highly suggest that you create an accountability buddy. How many of you guys have done this before? How well did it help? Yeah. Sometimes we just need to express our desires to somebody else on the same path and have them go, oh man, you got this, girl. And then it's like, all right, I'm back in the game. At the end of each week, you will get a weekly recap text. And that looks like this. So again, we're asking you to intellectualize with how well you're doing and grade yourself. How would you rate your effort over the last week? Be honest with yourself, okay? And if you were doing this on a scale of 1 to 5, you're not allowed to use 3s. No 3s allowed. Decide, are you a 1 or a 2 or a 4 or a 5? What was your biggest struggle? Why do you think that's so important? Nobody wants to answer? How about to say, that was a softball. I just tossed y'all that one. I thought someone was going to knock that out. Because now it's like I'm admitting and facing that this is a struggle, and awareness precedes change. Awareness gives us choice. Now I'm aware of this thing. Now I can create a strategy, an implementation decision, to do a better job of that the next week. What are you committed? And that word is very intentionally used. What are you committed to changing this upcoming week? That second question will probably give you some insight on how to answer that one. And then again, do you need help? Because asking for help is so important. All right, edumacation. I am a big believer that education drives compliance. The more you understand something, the more likely you are to do it. When you don't understand, why is this guy asking me to do this and do this and do it's easy to create stories just due to a lack of information of why you don't need to do it. So the more you educate yourself, the more compliant you'll be. Like I just said, awareness precedes change, and it gives you choice. So by educating yourself on nutrition, training, mindset, you start to give yourself more options in how you view and see things. And this is one of my favorite quotes as well. Full immersion is the steering wheel for your brain. So if you dive deep into this and educate yourself, you're pointing your brain in the direction that it needs to be to accomplish the goals that you have for yourself. Like I said, the book that we are going to give you for education is called The Obstacle is the Way. It's written by Ryan Holiday. It's one of the shorter books that we've had people read. So if you get done with the book early, let me know, and I will give you plenty of other books to read. This book talks a lot about stoicism. Stoicism is about having real emotional intelligence, about making decisions that are congruent with who I want to be, the highest version of myself, not how I feel in the moment. And guys, the game, this is a game, okay? But the real game is these things right here. Identity, process, outcome. When I say identity, I mean you have to become the type of person who can do these things. The way that you do that is by following the process that we're giving you. If you do that, you get the outcome that you want. Over time, we read Atomic Habits a couple challenges ago. And James Clear, who wrote that book, is really big on this. In order for you to shift your identity, we have to follow a process that gets us a result. But I'm going to reference back one of the things we talked about before, and that's belief. You have to believe that you can become the type of person who does these things consistently. Right now, you may not have enough evidence to believe you are that person, but you can become that person. This entire challenge is you versus you. I guarantee you the meal plan works, the workouts work, water's easy to find. Like, we're giving you the book. Like, the only way this doesn't happen is if you lose the battle to you. And there are things that work against you in that way. Our whole psychology is set up to keep us from doing these things in that way because they're hard and they're challenging. But the more you overcome these things in that way, again, you're overwhelming yourself with evidence. I'm the type of person that can do this. And the more you do that, the stickier these habits get. Every problem you encounter, you can solve. And if you can't solve it, we can help you solve it. Any issue that comes up is a solvable problem. If you catch yourself going into things like, well, my genetics, you're trying to create reasons why it won't work for you. Instead of just solve the problem. What are you struggling with? Is it the workout? Is it the food? Is it walking? Is it reading? Is it drinking water? What's the problem? And then solve it, and we can help you do that. I say this, I'm actually thinking about getting some banners made in here with some of the sayings that I constantly repeat. Like we have trust hard work, condition for chaos. But if nothing changes, nothing changes, is one of my favorite sayings. You are here to change. You are not here to do things the way you've been doing it. Make the change, because if not, nothing will change. Outwork your self-doubt. It's another one of my favorite quotes. You have to overwhelm yourself with the evidence that you can do this. And the only way to do that is to outwork your self-doubt. That's it. That's all you got. Control your environment. This is a big one, okay? So right now in that fridge, I've got bowls of ground beef because that's basically what I'm eating right now because Maddie made me a meal plan that's almost all carnivore, okay? But my environment here and at home has the food that I need. You may need to set up your environment at work to be just as solid as it is at home. And on the flip side of that, you might want to look in your cabinets, in your fridge, and see if the current environment is congruent with you being consistent. There's a reason alcoholics don't keep alcohol in the house. If you have a tendency to smash Little Debbie's and potato chips and, whatever, which are all fantastic in small amounts, I would ask you to get rid of them. Hey, Tate, will you get Kagan? She's outside. Okay. How many of you guys right now think it might be of value for you to go home and look through your cabinets in your fridge? Okay, well, the rest of you just must not have been grocery shopping in a long time or something, because usually we have stuff like that. Part of controlling your environment too is being open, honest, and direct with the people in your world, at work and in your house, okay? When people do these challenges, I have no expectation that their wife or husband or kids are going to do it with them. I think that's the best way, get everybody on the same game plan. But if that's not going to be how it's going down, I think you should have a conversation with them like, hey, look, I'm really committed to this program. The next 6 weeks, I'm following a very specific plan, and I'm going to get it done, and all I need is your support. So, in my house, my wife is sitting out in the car, she could tell you this, there's a rule in our home that you don't bring peanut butter in the house. If you do, you don't tell me. Because if I find it, it's going down, okay? And when I say it's going down, it's like spoons out of the jar going down, okay? I know that about myself. I also know that discipline and willpower are finite resources. You run out of them at times. So I set up my environment to where it's not there. That way I don't have to worry about overeating on it because it's not there. And this is one of the things, I thought about starting the presentation off talking about this, but I wanted to make this point. We do these challenges 3 to 4 times a year. We do them for 6 weeks at a clip. If you can be really dialed in for 6 weeks and you do this, that's 18 to 24 weeks of the year where you're locked in and focused. It's almost half your year. Now, if you can stay 90% or better an additional 2 weeks post-challenge, which I would suggest is easier than you think, okay? Last thing I would tell you to do is just throw the towel in. Go back, I'm going to go eat a pizza and, smash a fifth of vodka. That's probably not the best move, okay? But if you do that, we extend it to 24 to 36 weeks. It's 52 weeks in a year. So just by participating in these challenges and nailing this stuff, you will drastically have more control over your health and fitness for the entire year. Yeah, and you just keep repeating that process. Cam, I got 5% battery for some reason. Okay, I'm almost done. So, point system here. This is how we grade you. Number one, you see 40% comes down to your adherence to the rules in the check-in. 40%. So every night when you get that text, answering those questions is going to make the biggest difference. Then we look at what was the weight change, muscle mass, and body fat percentage. We want you to gain muscle if possible, but we do not want you to lose any muscle. This is one of the things that is very challenging in a lot of dieting. It's important to strength train and hit your protein numbers. So that's why we weight it so heavily. A lot of people don't even care about muscle mass in these weight loss challenges. They just don't care. They want you to see a big number go down. But the truth is that works against you. This is not the biggest loser for a reason. I don't want you to lose 40 pounds and 10 of it was skeletal muscle. Yeah, you're smaller, but you're less physically resilient. And your training should make you more resilient, able to handle the stress of life. And whoever does this gets $1,000 in cash. I got 2 winners here. Where'd he go? There he is. All right. So they'll tell you, $1,000 right in your hand. All right, so in closing, how am I doing on time? Damn, I nailed that. Look at that, I nailed that. I don't know how I pulled that off. All right. So, first of all, meal plans, grocery list, restaurant guide, and the book, The Obstacle is the Way, is in the Facebook group already. Correct? You should already be invited into the group, but if you are not in the group, we have a QR code that you can use today. Just put your phone on it, boom, you're in the game. So make sure that before you leave today, you hit that QR code if you're not in the group. We got, 80-some people in the challenge? I mean, there's a ton of people that are in this challenge. Have you been evaluated? Did you get your in-body done this week? If not, it must be done this week. We want you to do it in the morning, in a fasted state, if at all possible. Talk to your coach about the best way to make that happen. If you're interested in adding a hybrid session, we have very limited hybrid slots. Coach Tate is your point of contact on that, and he will help you figure it out. There's no additional cost, just to be clear. It's just we have very limited spots, so it comes down to what you'd like to do. If you want your discount on supplements, see Coach Maddie, not Coach Chris. Coach Chris is attending a wedding today. And he has told me that at 1 o'clock, he has automated a text message. So do me a favor. Open up your phone and see if you got a text message within the last 5 minutes from a number you don't recognize. Of course. That's how it goes. Yo, you got it? Okay. All right.
On that, before you leave, if you're brand new here, you've never trained here, you've never done the challenge, we need some of your contact info. We have some of you, but we don't have all of you. So anyone that this is their first time in the building, they've not trained here before, you're going to meet with Coach Cam in the lobby, so we have all that information. So you probably didn't get the text.
Yeah, if you did not get the text, it's for that reason most likely. And Chris did say anybody that didn't get it, make sure we collect the info and he'll get it done. Nomly is just, it's the software that we use to deliver these things. It tracks all of our data, so it's important that you have access to this number, all right? So, guys, do we have any questions? Do we have any concerns? We try to set you up for a win by going through this in so much detail. You probably feel like I just fed you through a fire hose, though, for the past hour, and your first week or two may feel like a little nerve-wracking. I got to figure this out. I got to do this. I got to get it. Just breathe. Just breathe. Relax. Just follow what we tell you to do. What you got?
The book, does it have to be read physically or audibly? Does it matter?
Man. Yes, you have to read it physically. I strongly believe that listening to books and listening to podcasts, you get about a quarter of the value. So yeah, you got to read. Only 5 to 10 pages a day. All right? Only 5 to 10 pages a day. Rules to receive the money, last piece. You got to show up for all 3 in-bodies. So you got to do the first one. We do another one at the 3-week mark, and then we do a final one at the 6-week mark. As long as you've completed all 3 in-bodies, you have an opportunity to win. Very simple rule to follow for cash. All right, folks, I'm going to dismiss you. Those of you that need supplements, head that way. If you're new, Cam is right